Who will be the next GOAT of women's MMA? Mark and I are going to go over that, but before we do, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. I usually hate this sort of GOAT conversation, but I feel like with women's MMA, it's very cut and clear who it is. It's definitely Amanda Nunes. She has dominated the competition. She's been the top of the top for such a long time. She's had 16 UFC wins. She's held multiple belts. I just don't think there's an argument against her as the GOAT. But now she's retired. So that means there's a place now for this new women's MMA GOAT. Mark, let's go through divisions and we'll go through those one by one and see who we could think potentially is the next women's GOAT. So let's start with featherweight.
Well, I think the obvious choice, now there is a position available, Dwayne, is definitely Henry Cejudo. No, I think it's time that we scrap the women's featherweight division. Look, it hasn't been active for a while. That second belt, you might as well have got it from a Kellogg's cornflake box and just get rid of it. Look, there's no interest there. Why did you carry that second belt around? It's worse than the BMF, let's face it.
That's a bit mean. That's a bit mean, but I get what you're saying. I would love to see Henry Cejudo have a shot at a title for the weight, but I think you're right. I think it's a division that was made with the intention for Chris Cyborg, because Chris Cyborg really struggled to cut that weight and went, right, okay, let's make a new division for her. Can we bring Amanda Nunes up, have a bit of a scrap? Nunes battered her and then killed that division in the long run. So there was literally zero contenders. Everyone Nunes fought at that weight, I didn't know who they were. I was like, I've never heard of this person. And then they usually get sacked off afterwards. So let's talk about some actual active divisions. Let's move down to bantamweight. So Mark, who do you think has a chance to be that new female GOAT within that division?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's that fair just to replace Amanda and now put Juliana Pena straight in there. I don't think she's done enough. She hasn't been active enough, has she? In order to take that GOAT position. Obviously there's been contenders that don't go away. Holly Holm is the turd that doesn't flush. I mean, she's still getting wins at like 40 plus years of age, sort of thing. But it doesn't solidify enough. Holly Holm, you say that to I hate the word casual, but you say that to a fan that doesn't watch.
We know what you mean. We know what you mean. Yeah.
Let's just say she's only remembered for knocking out Rousey. That's it. So you're like, well, Holly Holm doesn't really, belong up there. There's other people as well, but there's no one really that stands out. It all kind of blends into one, doesn't it? Because there's no one there. If I was to name a top 10 fighter, Dwayne, just give you a random name, who was the last fight? You're like, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I won't have a clue. Like you've got, like, say, Raquel Pennington, for example, but then she's lost to Holly Holm a while ago and that kind of thing. And it's a tricky one with Holly Holm because I do like her a lot. I think, she is one of the female GOATs. I think she is up there as one of the best. But, these last few fights and stuff, they've been real dull, haven't they? Push up against the fence. It feels like she's afraid to fight, which I know sounds silly for me to say, obviously, I don't even like a heated argument, never mind a fight, but, she's just going to push up against the fence and it can be quite boring fights. And that's likely what we're going to get. I think we're probably going to get Holly Holm versus Juliana Pena or Pennington versus Pena. But the big problem is with that division, and Nunes said it herself, whoever wins the title now is going to be a fake champion. We all know it's me. We all know I'm the top. But I think eventually we are going to have to move on, though. We can't let the old title holder hang over that division forever. It's tough. Move on. Do you know what I mean? It's like John Jones still hangs over light heavyweight. Khabib still hangs over lightweight. And it's like, why? They're not fighting those divisions anymore. Move on. I don't care. But unfortunately, I think with Nunes, I think because she was the female GOAT for such a long, long time, she will loom over it for even longer.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's the John Jones effect of that women's division, because in the sense of whoever wins the title next, you feel like Amanda could come back at any time and just take it from her. Just like on a weekend one time, she's just bored maybe. I'll do a bit of a training camp, just come back
Yeah.
and dominate. You feel like that could happen. So it's almost like a plastic champion. I don't know what the solution's going to be, because Nunes brought a lot of eyes, didn't she? Because people love to see her. They had her highlight reel, get another body onto it.
Yeah.
So like with her now gone, you think there's no one really who stands out aside from Juliana, because she beat Nunes in a fluke victory. I'm going to call it a fluke. You know, like, as in, who else really would jump out and say like, yep, deserves to be the champion, 100%. I'm not so sure. I'm proposing another like King or Queen of the Ring tournament, should I say, something like that. And then it's like, okay, well, you know, even if we don't have a champion for a little while, then we'll get someone who actually deserves it, and it'll erase the memory and the stench, not in a bad way, of Amanda Nunes in that division.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. If we can start building some contenders really in this division and see really who is top of the top, but it's going to take such a long time, isn't it, to move away from Amanda? I think she's been so dominant for so long, it just seems unlikely. But, you know, she could actually be doing the whole Henry Cejudo technique. Let's do a fake retirement and go, right, Dan, if you want me to come back, give me the cash. Because, you know, money talks, doesn't it? It's a fact. You know, if she says, right, we want you to fight Juliana Pena next year, we'll pay you a bucket load of cash, she could come back and just dominate anyone. And that's the big problem, isn't it? Like you were saying, Nunes could come back at any given weekend and take that belt like it was nothing, like it's just whatever she wants. So that's the big issue with that division. But let's move on to another division. We've got women's flyweight. I think the obvious choice is Valentina Shevchenko, isn't it? Of course, she's one of the women's GOATs anyway, and I think it's such a shame that we didn't get that fight between Nunes and Valentina, but we'll talk about that in a second. But the big problem is Valentina's just lost recently, and, you know, she's no spring chicken herself, so she's likely going to be retiring within the year anyway. So who else is going to step up as the GOAT of that division?
Well, it's hard to push a GOAT up there because they've all been beat by Valentina, aside from Alexa Grasso, you know, and the rest of them, you know, they've still got a little while to turn up there. But it just feels like, as in Alexa Grasso, she's a great boxer. I loved watching that. She's crisp, she's precise. She looked like she 100% belonged in the Valentina fight. It wasn't just a fluke. You know, she got her and it was just great technique. But Alexa Grasso isn't a household name enough to be considered the queen of that division. I just don't think she's done enough. There's a couple of other people in there, like, do you remember the Talia Santos fight with Valentina? Took her to decision, that kind of thing. There's one dark horse in this division, though, Dwayne, who isn't so much of a dark horse, that I'm going to say, not for now, but give it a couple of years and watch out for Erin Blanchfield. She's going to hold that title. I'm going to bet the house on that at some point. Within the next 2 years, Erin Blanchfield will be the champion of the women's flyweight division.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like with this flyweight division, there's a lot of different contenders. You know, I'd be excited to see Santos versus Blanchfield versus Grasso. I feel like you can really mix these guys up and see a lot of interesting things for those divisions. And of course, you've got Jessica Andrade, and Zhang Wei Li looks to be looking to move up a weight division as well. So there's a lot of exciting fights that can happen there. But I do worry, though, with Valentina, I think if she beats Grasso in the rematch, is that going to have a very similar effect to Nunes? Because, again, you know, if you talk about women's MMA, there's two fighters, isn't there? There's Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes. They are the best female fighters on the planet by a long shot. It's not even just a little bit. It is a massive gap. These two are top of the top. And I feel like Valentina will still loom over that division as well. Perhaps not in the same way Nunes would, just because it feels like there's actually some real contenders in this division. But are you gutted that we never got that third fight between Nunes and Valentina?
Yep, 100%. I think that was a cash cow that should have been milked straight away. Like, why did they wait so long? Like, we've been calling for that third fight for a few years now. You know, why didn't that happen? I'm much more interested in seeing a third fight with Nunes and Valentina rather than Nunes and Pena.
Yeah.
Much more competitive, you know. It's it didn't make any sense to me. Why were they doing that? And now I feel like we've really missed the boat because obviously Valentina isn't champion anymore. Nunes is retired, obviously. But I can honestly, exactly like you say then with Valentina looming over, I can imagine her to, I'm not giving a prediction, I'm just presuming that Valentina beats Alexa Grasso in the rematch. And I can imagine her to do a mic drop and just retire herself. Because like you said,
Yeah.
she's no sprint. And then after that, you've just killed the women's flyweight division. It's strange because it's not like something that can be helped. Contenders make themselves and they show it in the octagon, don't they? Like we said, Erin Blanchfield, she hasn't been around long, but she's already got people talking about her because, you know, dominant victories over Molly McCann, Jessica Andrade, these types of people. So they make themselves with these dominant victories. They stand out from the crowd. Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko 100% do. If when we're talking about knockouts, Dwayne, Valentina's knockout over Jessica I was ridiculous. Shadow Realm. That's one of them that you show someone to get them into UFC to make them a fan of it, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And you know, it is such a shame that we didn't get that fight. I think that was the fight to make. And when they had the Brazil card, was it at the start of the year or was it the end of last year? I don't remember. But when they had that Brazilian card, I was shocked that they didn't put that fight on. Imagine Nunes versus Valentina in Brazil. What a huge card that could be. And it got squandered. It got wasted. And it's such a shame. You know, I'll never forgive Dana for that, for throwing away that third fight.
Oh, I'm sure he'll cry himself to sleep every
He
night.
will.
Dwayne.
He will, because he watches these videos, Mark, and he'll get upset. But you know, hopefully, not hopefully, I don't know what I mean by that, but with Valentina, I want to see her beat Grasso, but at the same time, I don't, because if she doesn't beat her and if she loses that rematch, that really allows that division to step forward. And obviously, you know, there's my favorite fighter of all time, Zhang Wei Li. She is looking to move up to that division, and I would love to see her become a double champion. And I'd love to see her either fight Valentino or Grasso, because I think we could really see a competitive match either way with those two fights. And speaking of Zhang Wei Li, the best fighter in the world and my favorite fighter, we now move on to the strawweight division. The trouble is, you know, I think Zhang Wei Li has a future chance to be the female GOAT. I think she will be in those names with Amanda Nunes and Valentina. And I think Zhang Wei Li will stand among them one day. But the big problem is she's not even the GOAT of her own division at the moment. You know, there's still the looming Thug Rose. Nama Nunes is just there, lying in wait to maybe return. And I'm not sure she'll beat Zhang in a rematch. I don't know if that'll happen, but she is the GOAT of that division, isn't it? And that's a real big problem for the contenders.
Well, it's strange in the sense of because even though Zhang is the champion, the only doubt there is Rose.
Yeah.
You know, when Carla Esparza took the belt and, you know, the fight was announced with her and Zhang, predictions for that is Zhang by any way she wants, whichever round she wants, you know. It feels like Rose is almost, I don't want to say her kryptonite because the second fight was extremely close, but with the first round head kick knockout that she produced a few years ago, you think, surely Zhang to even be considered the GOAT, she's got to get that back whilst they're both active. If Rose is active, she needs to pull her thumb out of her ass. I don't know. I don't know. I felt like I was watching The Wicker Man, watching Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza. I was asleep for most of it. It was goddamn terrible. I was just pleased when they actually locked the octagon door afterwards, move on to whatever fight were next. But that's the only thing. Like it's another division as well where I think it's only really the top, maybe the top five that you can really consider like, oh, these are, you know, these could well be considered. It's just replacing which one, isn't it? But like I said, depending when Rose comes back, maybe we'll have more answers.
Yeah, and that's the big problem, isn't it? You say the top five, Matt, but even then, like, you know, you've got Carla Esparza as a top contender, Yan Xianan, Mackenzie Dern's dropped right down, Jessica Andrade has lost a handful of times now. You think, God, even the top five aren't good. Really, this is at the moment a two-women division. Even Amanda Lemos, I know she's getting a title shot with Zhang, but it feels like Zhang Weili is just too good now. And that's the issue, isn't it? We keep talking about Nunes, not Nunes, Nama Nunes, but that's the fight that everyone cares about. We all want to see that fight again. And even though, I think, like Izzy said, we don't keep scores, we settle it. Even that, I think that's what has to be done, doesn't it? Whether Rose has won twice before or not, this has to be the settler. Okay, first one, Rose knocked her out, in an early stoppage, I'd say. And then the second fight.
Give over.
And then in the second
I can imagine there's Zhang Weili in a coffin there, and you're thinking, well, she still could come back.
She could come back. Give her a second, everyone. Give her a second. She could get up.
Yeah. Like you're expecting the Undertaker sit up or something.
I am only kidding, obviously, but and then that second fight was razor thin. I felt like that could have gone either way. And this third fight has to be right. Let's settle this score. Who's going to be the best fighter? Because I feel like Zhang has really, really moved on as a fighter. It feels like she's different every single time. If you compare Zhang when she fought Joanna the first time to the second time, that is a striking difference. Like I couldn't believe it was even the same fighter. It's a completely different person. And it feels like Rose is in quite a weird position because she's the top of that division, but she lost a really boring fight with Kala Esparza, and she lost that jiu-jitsu match, didn't she? And that seemed to really sort of weigh on her. You think, I've lost these couple of fights now, and it feels like she's in a very strange mental place, and it feels like she needs to pull out of that and then fight Zhang. So I'd like to see Rose fight someone else to warm herself back up, so that we can get the best fight that we can. Because I think if she steps in now with Zhang, she's going to have a big mental block, and I think she'll get battered. And I don't, obviously I want to see that, but I want to see the best fight I can get. So yeah, I think it's tricky for that division.
I think, we all want to see Rose come back, but please God, no, not Rose versus Kala Esparza 3. Please God, no, the taste is still bitter in our mouths. What a goddamn terrible fight that was.
I think you do something like, I don't know, Rose versus Xianan or Andrade, someone like that. I think, that's a fun fight to put on, or maybe Mackenzie Dern. Because I feel like these are fights that Rose could comfortably win and then give her that confidence back that she needs, and we can get the best fight we possibly can. But I think it's tricky overall to decide who the new female GOAT is going to be, because it's going to be Amanda Nunes for a long, long, long time. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.